Welcome to the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Wanden. And first off, I'd like to apologize for the mess that we had to watch here on the Thursday nighter. The Indianapolis Colts visiting the Denver Broncos. This may be the worst game, at least primetime game, I've ever seen. It was awful. It was terrible, absolutely excruciating to watch. And I think, after 5 weeks, it's time to really start thinking Nathaniel Hackett, head coach, Broncos, he might have to go. He has to go. The Broncos have invested a lot of money in bringing in Russell Wilson to move this Denver Broncos team to the next level with the talent they have in offense, and it's going backwards. It's going in reverse. I don't understand what the plan is here. The Broncos, first of all, this game was 9-6 in the fourth quarter. 9-6. Disgusting. Absolutely horrendous. And the Broncos making a run late in the fourth quarter here. Russ just jacks one up into the air and gets picked off. They don't even come away with a field goal to at least force the Colts to score a touchdown, which will probably never happen. I don't understand the play calling. They go into overtime. The Colts hit a field goal, make it 9-6. The Broncos charge down the field on the 14-yard line, whatever, it may be off a few yards there. It comes down to 4th and 1. And the Colts to call a timeout to check out, talk it over, see what they need to do in defense. They come back, the Broncos call a timeout. So you're thinking that, okay, it's got to be a run, it's got to be a Russ quarterback keeper. But no, it's Russ dropping back. First of all, you should have hit the field goal because your offense is trash right now. And just hope that your defense could have pinned Indianapolis deep in their own zone to force them to kick. But no, you went for it and had Russ drop and throw at Gilmore in the secondary for the Colts and lose the game. Inexcusable. Fired. It's a fireable offense. It should be fired. And Russell Wilson, I don't know where you've gone because you look terrible. And maybe you're going to turn it around. I did see some good things looked like you had some zip on your ball. You did take off the run, but I have no idea what the hell you're doing. So Nathaniel Hackett, you got to go. Put the for sale sign up. Get the hell out of here. But that's just disgusting offensive football. The over a 41.5 to kick off the game. Not even close. Going into the second half, 28.5 when the score was 6. I can't even recall what it was at the halftime. Can't even come close to that. Absolutely disgusting. And the Colts, Matt Ryan is a disaster. He's a train wreck. Tom Brady, who's 45 years old, you can say his season's average this year, but at least he knows how to move around the pocket. All Matt Ryan does is sit there and gets just sacked and smoked and dragged down. And I've never seen a quarterback, even in his Atlanta days, want to move out of field goal range. How many times has he taken sacks over his career where it's just they start at the 15-yard line with the ball and he winds up at the 48-yard line, making it almost impossible for his kicker to make a field goal. Matt Ryan is a fraud. Yeah, he's a mistake. And the Colts had 7 or 8 penalties tonight because he holds the ball way too long and there's no chance there's not going to be a hold. So Matt Ryan, you are done. Throw in the towel, retire today, and just end it because we can't watch that again. That was horrible. I wasn't even expecting to talk about that game, but it's just so disgusting to watch. I had to rant about it. So let's move on from that. So welcome everybody again to the Overrated Experience. I'm going to dive into a recap of the previous weekend, and what I'll do is I'll stick to the games that I thought. I look like a Sam Rothstein, and if you don't know Sam Rothstein, he's the character in Casino, real-life character, where Robert De Niro plays Sam Rothstein, who runs a casino, but his previous role was a major bookie for the underworld and the mob. And every time he made a pick, he was such a sharp, he made the lines move. And you'll see scenes where, 3 or 4 guys are running to phone booths to talk about his picks and to get on them as soon as possible. And then we have, if you ever watched a movie called Bronx Tale. There's a scene in the Bronx Tale where it's the horse race track, and they bet on a horse who's got a big lead. But once Mush, this character comes down the stairs cheering for the same horse, and they know they got the same bet as he does, they immediately tear up their tickets because they know no matter how much of a lead this horse has, they're going to lose because this guy has such bad luck. So I'm going to go on my Rothstein picks first, and my Rothstein picks going to start out with the Chargers and the Texans. I talked about a 44 over, and both these teams would go to the air right away. And this game ended 34-24, exactly what I thought. Offensive game, balls in the air. Texans actually ran the ball a little more effectively than they have, but at the end of the day, 34-24. Herbert, threw the ball well. Texans continued to move the ball downfield. They're going to lose, and they're going to lose significantly, but they're going to put up points. So good for me on that one. Rothstein, way to go. Zach Wilson. I got a little more to say about Zach Wilson after I cover the bet I talked about. I talked about Zach Wilson coming back off of injury, heading into Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. The Steelers right now are terrible. But Zach Wilson, and they did pull out the win. The Jets did, so you got to give a little bit of kudos to Zach Wilson. But I talked about he's got to be a guaranteed at least one pick. But I did put out there that there'd be value at least 2 picks, and that's what he did. He threw 2 picks in this game, which is not a shock because he's an interception machine. And wow, on another note, not gambling related, but just rubs me the wrong way to know that I don't know if you've heard the news that the whole Brady divorce situation, Giselle, and this guy Zach Wilson, done nothing in the NFL. He's basically on the verge of being a bust. He's got to worry about the Jets picking up his fifth-year rookie, fifth-year option, and he's tweeting about Giselle. I got you. Like, you're taking a shot at Tom Brady, who's got 7 Super Bowl rings, 10 Super Bowl appearances, the GOAT, and Zach Wilson, douchebag Zach Wilson, who's peak in life is that his reputation is he's banged one of his mom's friends, and he's proud of, he's on cloud 9 on that one. Well, great job, Zach Wilson. This is your peak. You've peaked in life. You're such a loser. So I you know what? And I hope you fail. Just the stupidity of that tweet alone. And I'll leave it at that. But Zach Wilson, you know what? You're one big interception. That's pretty much what you are. So, Zach Wilson, worst of luck to you. Arizona, Carolina. I knew this line was off. Arizona, the underdog. You could have got them at plus money. They won. Second half, Carolina just could not keep up. Arizona kept pushing. I think Arizona's going to struggle with the top teams, but with the mid-card teams like the Carolina Panthers, they're in the game. And they did that. They pulled away in the second half, and Carolina is still lost. I don't know what Baker Mayfield is. I don't know what Carolina is, and I think you're going to see a major coaching change, potential rebuild for this team going into 2023. So that's that's my Sam Rothstein moment. That's my my picks where everybody should be running to the phone booths, make the calls and spread the word. But then I get to the real life, and that's the Mush picks. The Mush picks where, I felt very confident, but fell flat on my face. And, these are the tickets where I gave you the pick, and you're tearing them up right off the bat if you already made the pick because I said it. And that starts out with the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, I felt very, very confident that they would steamroll the Seattle Seahawks, and that Geno Smith has peaked in week 1 where he got a chance to beat Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. But Geno Smith had a game. He had a game. I have no idea what happened to Detroit's defense whatsoever. I was not even watching. I was following on my phone. I used the Score app to follow. It's pretty fast, up to date. And every time Seattle took a lead, Detroit climbed back. They were putting up yards. They clawed back a touchdown and a 2-point conversion down, 3 points down, and their D could not hold on. I have no idea what the hell was going on. 30 plus yards, 40 plus yards rushing on third downs for touchdowns. Absolutely excruciating. I told you that Detroit's a roller coaster ride. I was on the wrong end of the roller coaster ride. Disgusting. And, at losses like that kind of takes a hit on Dan Campbell, where these are the games they can't lose. At home against the Seattle Seahawks team, which, I don't know, maybe I got more faith in Seattle than I originally did. So we'll see how that plays out in our picks going into week 5. But Detroit really, really hurt me. 555 total yards given up by Detroit's defense. Like, how is that possible? Especially when their offense puts up 520 yards of offense and loses. So what a kick to the balls on that one, Detroit losers. I'm not going to take too much flack for saying that the Jags would cover against the Eagles. Weather became a problem. I wasn't aware of that on the Wednesday when we posted or recorded the podcast. It looks like the Eagles and Jalen Hurts handled the weather much better than Trevor Lawrence did. They couldn't hold the ball, had a terrible day. So I'm going to chalk that up to a weather issue, but that's the life of a gambler. Weather in the NFL is a factor, and especially for your outdoor stadiums, you do need to check in and see if there's something funny on the line that suddenly changed right before kickoff, that especially when we get into the cold weather months, that there's snow, hail. Wind is absolutely critical for decisions to be made on field goals and strategy and teams holding back and running the ball versus throwing until they get the win. So it is important, especially this time of year, to really figure out or understand if weather is a factor before you lay some money down. The Bills, I thought Josh Allen, anything below 300 yards, you just hit it as passing yards. He had 213 yard passing yards. Didn't get it. The way they won was very surprising. They maniacally came back against Baltimore. Baltimore took a quick lead. Baltimore could not hold on. Josh Allen still had a great game because he sliced and diced and slowly came back, and they pulled out the victory. And the Bills showed that I believe they're the best team in football right now. The one game that really, really upset me, I will say, is the Packers. I thought 9.5 points favored was way too small, and that they would hammer Brian Hoyer and the New England Patriots. And it's not even Brian Hoyer. He got knocked out early in the game. And Bailey Zepper, I hope I'm saying that name right, Zipper, Zippy, Zappy, who cares? He comes into the game, and at the halftime, the Patriots are leading 10-7 because Aaron Rodgers throws a pick six late in the first half. And I don't know what this says about the Packers, that depending on who they're playing, that they come ready to play, because there's no excuse why New England was in this game at all. I will say in the second half, when Bailey Zapper threw his touchdown to give the Packers a late lead, the play clock, I swear to God, it was at 0, and there was a 3-second window where no whistles are blown. There should have been a flag. That play should have never happened, and the Patriots took a lead, almost screwing over, I think, many survivor pools. Those who are remaining probably took the Packers, knowing of all the injuries and Mac Jones being out. But Aaron Rodgers and the Packers did pull it out in overtime. But shame on the Packers. Shame on you, Aaron Rodgers. They don't come to play every week, and now I'm iffy on going into next Sunday as they're in London to take on the Giants, and they're only at an 8-point favor, which, many bettors are thinking it should be higher. But shame on you, Packers. And the Rams. Shame on me on this one, because I took the Rams as the heavy favorite here over the 49ers. And what I mean heavy favorite is I thought the way the Rams were playing and could move the ball, that the 49ers would have a tough time keeping up. And during the first drive, the Rams moved the ball very well down the field and got stalled in the red zone and had to hit a field goal. And then from there, the 49ers had a blitz blitzkrieg on the Rams offense. Stafford was getting hammered. Poor, just offense could not click at all, and just wild stuff. But 49ers win that game, and the Rams looked like very, very poor in the offensive line and could not adjust accordingly. And wow, some of the weapons, Deebo Samuel's touchdown there, just some of this. That's all Jimmy's got to do. Jimmy G. All you got to do is put the ball in the hands of the playmakers, and throw a 6-yard out to a Deebo Samuel or a wide receiver screen, and let them do the work. That's his job, and that's why he may be successful. But I just don't have full faith in this 49er offense that can be consistent week in and week out. So that's our review of Week 4 in the NFL. Again, I feel like saying Rothstein at some points where I'm the man, and then there's times where I feel like a Mush, where just tear the ticket up immediately based on what I just told you and what to take that week. Anywho, life goes on. I told you this is a square podcast, not a sharp podcast, so you got to expect ups and downs, so that's what you get. Going into Week 5, the Giants, Green Bay I talked about. Green Bay is an 8-point favorite. They're playing at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're in London, England. They're the game where you're going to bet because it's on at 9:30. Love the 9:30 games, by the way. You start pounding the different bets on this. This game, you probably wouldn't take a lot on this per se, but I guess the bets that I'm looking at are Barkley for the Giants, running back. He has been on fire for the Giants. He's had a resurgence. So they have 109.5 receiving and passing yards. That is high, but I think he's going to do it. I think that's a great number to have. I don't know the health of Daniel Jones. If you watched the end of the Giants-Bears game last week, the Giants had to go Wildcat, where Daniel Jones was lined up as a receiver, basically just to bring in the play calling because of a bad ankle. And Barkley was in the quarterback position, like I said, doing Wildcat, running the ball. So he's going to be the focal point. And I think 109.5 is a good value at minus 110 or 115, I believe. Aaron Rodgers, 230.5 passing yards. You got to think that his first time playing in London, that he might want to put on a show, and he might have a few deep passes, where I think he's gonna be pushing more 300 than he is 230.5. So I feel comfortable stating at Aaron Rodgers. I feel it's Rothstein comfortable that you're going to exceed the 230.5 on that. So take that one. And moving on. Here's a weird one. I told you I got really pushed back on the Lions. They really disappointed me against the Seahawks, but they're coming into the Patriots, coming in New England as a +3 underdog. And I think if Mac Jones, because he looks like he's going to be out again, and you got to think the +3 is based on the knowledge that he's not going to play. So if it's confirmed that Mac Jones is not going to play on Sunday, I would seriously consider taking even the money line for the Lions at +150. And I'll tell you why. Because Bailey Zapp with Zippy, Zappy, Zippy, Zoopy, who the hell cares? He's not good. He's not experienced enough. You could tell during the Packer game he had very little familiar with the playbook. Was nervous. Is on the verge of turning a ball over, taking a big sack. And I think the Lions will put up enough offense where I don't think, like maybe Geno Smith and the Seahawks did, that even if the Lions put up points, that the Patriots are going to be able to keep up, especially with Bailey Zapp. So look at that as a red flag. +150, take the Lions. Run to the phone booth right now and make the call. I'll hold. No, I'm just kidding. Let's move on. Minnesota +7.5, taking on the Bears. I would say bring this down as part of your teaser where you take, let's say, 4 games and add 6 points to the spread or the over-under in your favor and hope to win all 4 games to win a good amount of money. So this would bring it down from 7.5 to 1.5. And the Bears, they cannot throw. They're a pure run. They're in a bad situation right now. And I just feel that the Minnesota Vikings have their own problems, but I think they can move the ball enough and force the Bears to have to throw where it's going to be danger, danger, danger for Justin Fields and that Bears offense, where they're going to turn the ball over many times, and it's going to be constant pressure from the Vikings. Okay, moving on. Houston, Jacksonville. Now, we talked about last week, Houston and LA Chargers over 44. This over-under is at 43.5. And I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence back into better weather in Jacksonville. Houston, again, goes to the air, and they keep the clock stopped so that it's not running. 43.5 is a gift, and I'm giving you this gift of a pick. Hammer the over. Hammer over. Just don't even stop. Go for it now. I have a feeling this game is gonna have some points in it. And then Seahawks, New Orleans. I wouldn't even put this on the board, but if I look at 5.5 and I look at the offense that Seattle has put on the board with Geno Smith, and he's getting cocky. If you see interviews, and I mean good cocky, I'm not talking bad cocky. A reporter questioned him on his yards he's putting up, and you got to see it. He talked about if you see me throw, then you would know that was a bad comment or something. He's very confident right now in his ability, and I think he's going to chuck the ball downfield. New Orleans did put up a fight late in London without Jameson Winston. I don't know the status of Winston this week, but I think New Orleans is a bit of a mess right now. Latavius Murray was their leading rusher on Sunday, but yet somehow they let him go. And now he's on the Broncos. I don't understand why New Orleans would make that decision, but I think they're going the wrong way, and I don't know if they've already hit the eject button on the season, but I like the Seahawks at 5.5. Now Rams in Dallas, 4 o'clock. This is going to be the primetime game. This is the big game. I like the Rams. I like to potentially tease. This is part of your teaser from 5.5 to plus 0.5. I can't see Dallas with Cooper Rush. I think the honeymoon's over. I probably said that the last few weeks. I can't even remember, but it's time. I think the Rams coming off a loss against San Francisco. This is the actual test. Aaron Donald and the defensive line. I don't see it happening. I think the Cowboys will be exposed here. Rams all the way. Weatherby teaser. I think 5.5 is a safe play as well, but take the Rams. Now we go into the Sunday nighter, which is an interesting division battle. Cincinnati visits Baltimore. Baltimore right now is forget about Baltimore right now. I'm going to say that I like the over 48. I think this will be a bit of a shootout. I think you'll have Lamar Jackson running, throwing around to his weapons, and then Joe Burrow will be putting up some numbers. So I think I like the over 48 in this one. It is high, but a funny little player prop and worth taking a look at plus 100 is Joe Burrow at rushing over 10.5 yards. You got to feel he may take off a few times and probably one of them for a first down, at least maybe 2 of them to get to at least 11 yards. So I feel comfortable taking the 10.5 yards from Joe Burrow over rushing yards. And then moving on to Monday night, Las Vegas and Kansas City. The Raiders take on the Chiefs. The Raiders last year walked into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. And I think 7 points is too much. I like the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they're obviously one of the top teams in football, probably slightly behind the Buffalo Bills. But I think the division matchup with the Raiders coming off a win, plus 7 I think is too high. I would feel comfortable hitting up that plus 7. So take it. Josh Jacobs, over 61.5 yards rushing. I think hit that too. I think that's going to be a major factor. I think the Raiders are going to try to run the ball, and I think he's going to break a few of them open. And I think the 61.5 is way too low. So, and that is it for the NFL side of things. So hopefully that things can turn out. There's also some other soccer action going into the weekend. We got the last weekend of MLS which is exciting. So really look at who needs to get in and what their motivations are before making picks. And if you're looking at over-unders, there could be value there. Some EPL action and obviously the rest of Europe action. College football action is taking place. Some matchups there. If you again, I've promoted it before, but the Bet the Board podcast is out there, and I think it's a good value to pick up on some of the college games that you might find some insight and find some props to bet. So I encourage you to take a listen to that. And also, what is standing out to me is baseball. Baseball's heading into the playoffs on Friday, tomorrow. And we got the wild card weekend where it's basically 2 days straight with a third day possible depending on how these series play out. So the wild card is going to consist of four games a day, at least for Friday and Saturday. And it's a best of 2 or 3 series. And if you look at the opening games, we got some picks from our new correspondent, Slick Rick. Slick Rick, who's got some baseball insight, really likes the Cards tomorrow. Cardinals over the Phillies, minus 112. Good value there. I mean, good minus 112. If you feel good about it, that's you definitely want to put some coin down on that. He also likes the Cleveland Guardians to minus 116 to take on Tampa, which is the 12 o'clock game. And the Jays, which is a little heavier favorite, the minus 134, with Alex Manoah pitching to beat Seattle tomorrow, which is a pretty good pick. But here's the one that you want to keep your ears open for, and that is a series bet. So if for those folks out there that are looking to or new to the game, not only can you bet individual games, but in a playoff series such as we have starting tomorrow, you can select, like for FanDuel as an example, if you find the 4 games for baseball, there's also a spot where you can select where it says series. And you can select which team will actually win and advance in the playoffs. So the pick that he's picked is a bit of an upset. He believes the Padres are going to actually knock off the Mets. So the Mets are a heavy favorite, and the Padres are the underdog. The Padres are plus 164 to win the series. So he said he's going to lay some coin on the Padres. So has no faith in the Mets. There's only so much Scherzer and DeGrom can do. So he thinks that there's value there. So way to go, Slick Rick. We'll see how that turns out. One interesting bet as well that I kind of looked at for if you want to get a little crazy. Tomorrow, the Cleveland Tampa Bay over-under is 6. And in the playoffs, here's the difference between regular season. You have your aces, your front of the line rotation, starting, and you also have your bullpen ready to go, and that's why a lot of these over-unders are very low. But going into tomorrow, you have Cleveland and Tampa Bay at 6, as I said, but you can look at what is called an alternative total, and every site has this where instead of betting over-under 6, for example, you can bet 4.5. But instead of being over under 6 at minus 110, a 4.5 would be minus 4.5 would be minus 265, which is very expensive, which means that you would have to bet $265 to win $100. So what I would do here is I would take the over at 4.5 at minus 265. I would parlay it, meaning that I would have 2 games I would need to win. With the Blue Jays, where the over-under is 7, I would also take the alternative over-under, which is minus 210 at 5.5. And I would parlay these 2 games together, which would pay out $100, would pay out $107.87 profit. I think that the Blue Jays, for sure, give you the opportunity, because they do have bats in the lineup, can hit a couple jacks, home runs, with runners on base, where I think it could fly over 6. And then I guess I'm thinking of the Cleveland-Tampa Bay game, that if I get 2-2, there has to be a run scored, so it'll be over automatically 4.5 if it even becomes a 2-2 ball game. So that's my baseball pick here. So that kind of wraps us up here today on the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. A pretty quick one. I'm trying to feel at the times here. Last few podcasts have been, roughly an hour. This one should be just over 30 minutes, but I want to try to give value, and we'll keep experimenting as time goes on. But as always, it's a fun podcast. I'm not encouraging you to spend the money you do not have, and this is purely fun. And we'll do it again all next week. Over and out. Enjoy your weekend, and good luck.